Well.
This is the College Football Dawgs Podcast Show with your hosts, Matt Redding, Tony Thomas, and Dominick Cressetto.
Yes, well, welcome inside the College Football Dawgs Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Redding, tonight, and we've got an awesome show planned out for you all, talking ACC football with recruiting updates, outlooks for the season, and an awesome guest star. But first, I'm going to bring on my co-host, Tony Thomas, 7'5", former Detroit Lions owner. Tony, how you doing today?
I'm good, guys. How are y'all?
Not too bad. And filling in for Dominick Cressetto tonight, we've got the great Vandy Chris, host of Second to None. Chris, how are you tonight, brother?
I'm doing excellent and ready to get this show on the road. Talk some college football, specifically the ACC tonight.
Man, I couldn't agree with you more. It's gonna. I'm excited for football in general. Like, I just feel like every show, as we anticipate our podcast, it's like another reminder that hey, football's right around the corner. So
10 days, y'all. 10 days.
Yes, sir. God bless it. Well, we're gonna get right into it, but first, a quick word from our sponsor of tonight's show.
I'll always take care of you. Hey, little bear bear. You gonna be a good boy?
Don't worry, darling, about the rest of our
to
lives.
have from this day forward.
Through thick and thin,
Come on, bear.
I'll be there by your side.
Oh.
I'm gonna love you forever.
Hey, bear.
I'll be there. You don't
Man, the only thing sadder than that commercial is Texas A&M still getting preseason love. Gets me every time. Yeah, so thank you to the Farmer's Dog for sponsoring tonight's show and also the mailbag. So, guys, we got a couple of call-ins. Each week, everyone, if you would please leave us a comment or a phone call. We'll put a number somewhere. If you could just drop us a question, anything you want to talk about at all. Doesn't have to be related to the show's theme. Just whatever you want. Food, football, family. Video games, probably not. But yeah, let's get right into it. I think we got a couple. Colin, who do we have first?
Hey guys, this is Robbie Alderman. I am calling from Orlando, Florida. My question regarding the ACC is, with the recent implosion of the Pac-12 and what's going on there with these teams wanting to join the so-called power conferences, what do you guys foresee happening with the ACC? And if you foresee an implosion similar to the Pac-12 or a restructuring, why is that happening in the ACC when they've always been considered, at some points the second or definitely third team in the Power 5 conferences? Why are they receiving the treatment that the Pac-12 is also receiving? Thanks so much.
Man alive, good question, Robbie. Thank you so much for that. And right on target with what we're talking about tonight. ACC is doomed, guys. I hope we've got a big audience for the ACC episode tonight, because this will probably be the one and only time College Football Dogs gets a chance to talk about it. And it all started because of Florida State, when they raised the question, hey, how come we don't get a higher percentage of the TV rates than everyone else? Because we're the ones carrying the rock, with Clemson, basically. So, they're done for. Go ahead.
I'd be curious. You keep hearing reports about this ironclad media rights deal that's in place until the year 2036. I mean, that's 13 years away. Supposedly, like I said, ironclad. So how do they get out of this albatross of a media rights deal?
I've got a theory on that, actually, which we'll get to in a second. But, I heard Jake Crain say once, never underestimate the power of lawyers. Like, they'll find a way. I think I know how, but we'll get to more of that in a second. But
I think I can go with where you're thinking, because currently the ACC has not lived up to their end of the revenue sharing promises that they made in their agreement with their media rights. So if they're not living up to their end, it's a breach of contract, and breach of contract, all these schools are going to want to get out any way they can.
Chris, is that for all the schools, or just the top performing schools are getting more of a lion's share than the rest of the bunch?
From what I understand, the ACC has not lived up to their percentages on the revenue sharing for everybody.
Yeah. But Robbie, thank you again for the question, brother. Short answer, they're doomed. So have fun running the conference for one more year, because after that, I think Florida State and Clemson are on their way out, and we'll get some more on that later. Let's see. Who else do we have? So $10, it's an ACC question.
Hey guys,
Colin, we got
this is
another
Jesse
one?
Bass Knight Jr. from Carrboro, North Carolina, and I've got a question about the North Carolina Tar Heel football team. And my question is, through the years watching Carolina football, the great teams that they have had in the past have had a running game and a passing game. Of course, we know how good Drake May is, potential Heisman winner. But we've got a bevy of running backs, none of which have really got a lot of claim from past. But I want to know what you feel about the combination of running and passing this year, percentage-wise, and maybe whether the running backs will be a major part of our wins or not. Let me hear what you have to say.
Appreciate it, Jesse. Man, North Carolina's got like 4 or 5 running backs I could start all year, I feel like. But they don't get talked about enough because of Drake May. So here's my thoughts, fellas, if I may just for a second. I think Drake May's due for regression this year. His offensive coordinator, Phil Longo, has gone to Wisconsin. Josh Downs was drafted in the second round of the NFL draft, so his favorite target's out. And I'm not saying that's going to equate to him being a bad quarterback, but I don't think he's going to be I mean, it happened with Sam Howell, right? He was the number 1 overall pick in the draft at North Carolina, and then the next year, we know it's not Mac Brown, or it wasn't the coordinator because Mac Brown was still there, and he took a step back. I think we're due to see more of the same, maybe not as bad, because Drake May's on a different talent level than Sam Howell. But the good news for North Carolina and for their running backs is Chip Lindsey is now the offensive coordinator. And I don't know, Chris, if you remember watching him at Auburn, the year 2017, the last time Auburn won the West, they had over, or actually you could combine that with both years, 2017 and 18 that he was there. Auburn had over 3,000 rushing yards. Kerryon Johnson was a Heisman finalist and a eventual second round pick by the Detroit Lions because he went over 1,600 yards rushing. That's a good thing for Drake May. If he takes a step back, they've got the coordinator in there. And hey, Elijah Green, 608 yards, 8 total touchdowns, I believe, last year. He can tote the rock. So I think they'll be a bigger part of the offense. What do you guys think?
I think every great team has to have a great running game to go with a great quarterback.
For sure.
But I also think Drake May might take a step back this year as well, just like you do. I think it's going to be another Brock Purdy situation where the expectations are high coming in, and it's going to be very difficult to live up to that. But I think the running game, I think that goes a long way toward covering some of that up.
I agree. If anything else, if nothing but to take the pressure off of Drake May so they're not one-dimensional.
Yes.
They do have their top 2 rushers coming back, Elijah Green and Omarion Hampton. They combined for almost 1,000 yards rushing and 14 touchdowns on the ground. So
I forgot about Hampton.
They can get those. What's that?
I forgot about Hampton. He's a good player.
If you can get those guys running between the tackles and take some of the pressure off, I think they'll be good to go.
For those of you wondering what that was, that means our time's up. But yeah, so Jesse, thank you so much for the question, brother. I think North Carolina is going to have a good year no matter how many rushing yards they put up because Drake May is still something special, even if he takes a step back. So, all right, cool. Well, guys, before we get into our pick 6, I wanted to bring something up with you. If you were sleeping under a rock, the AP poll came out. Just pull it up real quick. Okay. Thanks to our friend Tim Bailey at the Tim Bailey Show for this graphic. He's got his own thoughts about it. You can check him out. But what's wrong with this picture, guys? There's several answers.
First off, you got Texas sitting there at number 11. I don't see how they're ranked even in the top 25 personally.
Even with Quinn Ewers coming back from injury?
Yeah, even with Quinn Ewers coming back from injury. Secondly, USC's not number 1, and Michigan's number 2. That's right, but Georgia, I think, should be number 3.
I agree with you on that one. Anytime I'm trying to put together top 25, I just look at I just look at the quarterback, and right now Georgia's got a lot of talent around him, but Carson Beck is still an unknown commodity. I'd actually put Michigan at number 1. Again, going back to the quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, he's not the reason they lost to TCU in the playoff. TCU just wanted it more. But I think Michigan's in for a good year, and they'll find themselves at number 1 at the end of it if they don't get a preseason vote at the top. Also, I'm tired of seeing Bama in the top 5 with so many unknown commodities.
Agreed.
The reports out of camp are horrible. I know not to doubt Nick Saban, but let's maybe temper our expectations. So, also Texas A&M, get out of here.
So to be fair, 4 and 5, you could flip Alabama and LSU either way, but I
would put LSU ahead of Alabama strictly because of what they got coming back.
Yes.
Quarterback-wise, not to mention the continuity in the coaching staff.
Yes.
Which is often overlooked all the time. So
yes,
those are definitely great points, Tony. But if the stories coming out of camp mean anything, the last week at LSU has not been good either.
Well,
I'd still take Jaden Daniels over Jalen Milroe or Tyler Buckner, whoever's starting. So
I'll agree about the flare-ups of the tempers at practice, but I think if anybody can get it under control, it's Brian Kelly, and they're going to be ready to come September 3rd in Orlando against Florida State.
So, and I want to make one other point. I do a lot of stuff on Twitter. I see the Tennessee fans crying all day, every day, that Clemson is ahead of them. Look, Tennessee, you lost your quarterback. You lost your first-round draft pick on the offensive line, and you lost your offensive coordinator. You're not the same team that you were last year. Clemson's got a lot more coming back than Tennessee. I have to put Clemson ahead of them, so I have no problem with that.
I would actually put Cade Klubnik and Joe Milton on the same plane as far as the body of work, because Cade Klubnik came in place of DJ, and Joe Milton played the bowl game against Clemson. So, I mean, as far as the body of work goes, I mean, they're pretty much on the same plane. So, it's just going to depend on who can get it done more, whose defense is better. Clemson's defense is obviously going to be probably a lot better than Tennessee's, but that's why they play the game. So we'll see.
True, but also give me Tennessee's wide receiver room over Clemson's any day. Brew McCoy, Squirrel, I don't know. I feel like that experience in their wideout room is going to help them.
Not to mention Joe Milton can throw it over rocket top. So, it's
Joe Milton threw a ball yesterday and it's still in the air. So it'll touch down eventually.
My last point I want to make on this is I see a team lurking down there in the bottom half of number
Texas
25,
A&M?
Number 25, Iowa. Finished the year with one of the top defenses in college football. They've actually got a quarterback now that can actually run an offense and can complete passes. I would not be shocked at all to see Iowa make an appearance in the top 10 at some point during the season.
Wow.
Iowa may surprise some people. As much as Brian Ferentz was a dumpster fire last year as a coordinator, but yeah, I agree. Iowa might surprise some people more than what people think. So
I've got both of you saying that on camera live. We're going to keep that clip and we'll get back to it at the end of the year. My only thought, the last thing I've got is Texas A&M. I'm sick of it. I don't care if Bobby Petrino's the offensive coordinator. Get him out of here.
So, get him out.
Perfect. I just wanted to get y'all's thoughts. All of y'all in the audience, let us know in the comments what you think. Who's too high? Who's too low? Who needs to make an appearance? I think Auburn's going to finish in the top 15. I promise I'm not biased at all. Whoops, went the wrong way. There's my flag. So not biased. That's a different episode. So awesome. Well, perfect. Well, if y'all have seen this show before, you know that we got a little thing we like to do called the Pick Six, sponsored by our friends over at Icy Breeze, with a word from Deion.
That can be used anywhere. It blew my mind. Where were you several years ago when I was playing select baseball, man, in the scorching heat in Texas? Right. Tell us how it works.
It's a true portable air conditioner. Here's the big deal. So in Florida, South Texas, humidity, you can't make a swamp cooler work. There's already moisture in the air. Right. This is a true air conditioner. It actually pulls the moisture out of the air. So this thing, you can run it off a battery. Mm-hmm. You can run it off a 12-volt cord, off a 110, but this is what makes it unique.
How long does that battery last then?
6.5 hours on a single charge.
6.5 hours.
The great thing about it is you can use them indoors, outdoors. You can put it right in the tent with you. The idea is to be extremely portable. This thing is light.
It is light. I love the colors, by the way.
It works perfect for the new CU partnership.
That's right. Can you tell me about not just the innovation, but why?
A lot of your athletes, the people that like the U.S. Open, Australian Open, the Olympics, the athletes that are using these, it helps them get that one more rep. You're just dragging. You got the catcher back there just wore out.
Yeah. it's to me it's revolutionary because not only the how it works, but the price point of $289.
Question for the producer: if Deion Sanders is pitching Icy Breeze, why isn't he intercepting a ball for the video? I don't know. Just I see an opportunity here. Anyways,
Doing the prime time dance on the way down the sideline. Yeah,
I'll put that in the suggestion box. Which
so I actually have a thing for that as well. They advertise it as being lightweight. I just got to know, is it lightweight enough for him to carry around as he's recovering from having surgery on his legs the other day?
Probably.
Now,
just like frat boying it like this, like, hey guys.
These things.
That's awesome. Welcome to the Pick Six. We've all picked a couple of topics we want to talk about. Being ACC night, that sounds like a very bad margarita night in Charlotte. We've all got stuff we want to talk about, so we're just going to go in a roundtable real quick. Tony, I'm curious, what have you got for us today, brother?
First off, I'm going to start with the Duke Blue Devils. Coming off a 9-4 year last year. That was their first winning season since 2018. Under first-year coach Mike Elko. They have 18 starters coming back, including 18 starters.
Oh, that's better than what I found. I thought
10 on offense, 8 on defense, including their starting quarterback, Riley Leonard, who I think is the most underrated quarterback in the country.
Yes.
Over 2,900 yards passing, 20 TDs, and only 6 interceptions in 392 attempts. So that's a pretty good touchdown to interception ratio there. Their 4 losses last year were all by 8 points or less. So, I mean, they were in every game they played. They just came up a little short on 4 of those games. But, they're going to be one of the top teams in the ACC this year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Future Texas A&M head coach Mike Elko, he went in there, flipped that program on its head overnight. And like you said, I love that you brought up Riley Leonard. I see a little bit of Josh Allen in his game, so it wouldn't shock me if he snuck into day 1, day 2 of the NFL draft. If he keeps up those statistics, over 3,000 yards last year, 21 touchdowns, what's not to like? Come on.
He threw a touchdown pass in every game last year, at least one, every game. So
where's all my analysts at? What's not to love?
Clutch.
Yeah. So you cannot shake your head at that. That's an amazing stat.
Nope.
Tony, you got a season prediction, a win-loss prediction for him?
I think they're going to be 9-3, actually. I
can get behind that.
And I think they beat Notre Dame.
Let's go.
I agree. So I'm sure we'll have a discussion about that later on, but Duke beats Notre Dame. So
they're about to get marshaled again. Copyright, trademark here on the Dawgs podcast. Get marshaled. Perfect. Tony, that's excellent, brother. Thank you. Chris, what do you got?
So a topic that's near and dear to my heart is suicide prevention and mental health awareness. Yesterday, the report came out that in 2022, America reached an all-time high in the number of suicide deaths across America. If you are a fan of this show and you ever find yourself in a position where you need to talk to somebody, on behalf of College Football Dogs, all of our message boxes are open. We are willing to talk with you if you are in that dark place. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, the National Suicide Prevention Hotline is also available. They have changed that number. It's no longer a 1-800 number. That number is now just 3 digits, 988. Again, if you ever find yourself in that position, feel free to reach out. Just talk to somebody. Don't let yourself go down that road.
Yes. So absolutely. Thank you so much, Chris, for bringing that up.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, you're not alone. So like Chris said, if you're struggling with that, please reach out. We're here to chat. You've also got 988, like he said. So please reach out. You're not alone. So thank you so much, Chris.
Yep.
I wanted to talk about Miami for my first topic. But I think we're going to save that for a little later. I've actually got something else that I've been thinking about today. Virginia Tech's program outlook, and this is kind of why I've been thinking about them lately. It's not necessarily because of what Virginia Tech has done. It's kind of more so what Shane Beamer's done at South Carolina these last couple of years. Now, nothing against Brett Pry. I know he's a good defensive coordinator. He's a good dude, but he inherited a 6-7 team from Justin Fuente before they let him go. So still a bowl eligible team, though nothing impressive, but they tanked last year to the 3-8 record, including a loss to Old Dominion. And I know that Virginia Tech hasn't made like any playoff noise recently, but that's still a very historic program and a very a very proud school. Michael Vick came from there. Tyrod Taylor came from there. Tremaine Edmonds came from there. They put talent out in the NFL, and they've got a very solid fan base. And I think with all the success that South Carolina's had under Shane Beamer, legendary Virginia Tech head coach Frank Beamer's son, I think I'm starting to think if Brett Pry doesn't do something this year to generate some noise and maybe show that he's the right guy for the job, if they stumble to another bowl-less record, I think you're going to see Virginia Tech pull the trigger. And they're absolutely going to go after the guy who's brought Spencer Rattler to South Carolina. He missed out on Jalen Salomon, Jalewis Solomon, excuse me, but he's got a bevy of other 4-star and 5-star recruits to make up for it. Shane Beamer's on fire. And if you're not buying stock in South Carolina, they should have been in the AP top 25. If you're not buying stock in the Gamecocks this year, that's on you. But Virginia Tech's going to be watching, and if they feel like they can make a move, they're going to go snag him. So
I agree with that.
On that topic, can you imagine Shane Beamer walking out of that tunnel to enter
just like his dad?
The place.
Oh my gosh!
The place will go absolutely crazy. Yeah,
got them sunglasses on and come walking out there, bopping that head around.
Beamer ball 2.0 right there, buddy.
Exactly. And I mean, I know that Virginia Tech's probably got other people that could outbid them for his services if he decided to leave South Carolina. But hey, when Mama calls, you gotta go.
You gotta answer that call to go home, y'all.
So I don't know, and I feel like he'd have a lot of success there too, because he's been there with his dad. So yeah, so
if he can recruit at South Carolina, he can recruit at Virginia Tech.
Absolutely. So I'm a big Shane Beamer fan, even if he is 2-0 against Auburn. But yeah, South Carolina fans better pray that Brett Pry puts it together and has like a 8-win, 9-win season, because if not, well, it was fun while it lasted. Thanks for the memories, quote Fallout Boys. So, Tony, we're going to go back to you, man. What else do you got for us tonight?
We're going to talk about the Louisville Cardinals.
Whoeyville Cardinals?
The Louisville Cardinals, yeah. The Louisville Cardinals, my bad. 8-5 last year. Their favorite son, Jeff Brom, comes home to coach.
Finally.
As head coach, yeah, after being at Purdue the last couple of years. And he brings his brother Brian over as the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. Brian is second all-time on the school passing list with over 10,700 yards passing. I mean, it's phenomenal. The Brom name is synonymous with Louisville football. So, Louisville football, sorry.
No, I said Whoeyville.
Oh, yeah.
Who? I don't know.
Now they're going to have some weapons on offense, and believe it or not, two of them are going to be transfers. Their quarterback's going to be Jack Plummer, who transfers in from Cal.
Yep.
He was a 3,000-yard passer last year. They have Jawara Jordan, who was a rush for over 800 yards last year. And they have a wide receiver, Jamari Thrash from Georgia State. He was an 1,100-yard receiver at Georgia State last year. So they're going to have some weapons on offense. So
yeah,
their defense, they got 7 starters coming back. They were a top 30 defense. They allowed 19 points a game, and that was good enough for 11th in the country, y'all.
Yeah,
so,
I think the thing I'm most excited about for Louisville this year, I don't know their previous coach, right, Mark Satterfield. It's just I never felt like he really wanted to be there, you know? Like, he was just kind of like, oh, yeah, it's a Power 5 job. I'll take it. And then as soon as Cincinnati showed up, he was like, yeah, I'm out of here. So
Right.
But Jeff Brum, like you said, he's a former Louisville quarterback.
Yep.
He wanted to be there the first time, but I read in an interview this morning, actually, he was talking about how it just wasn't the right time. He still had work to do at Purdue, and I remember watching him, Rondale Moore. He found that kid. Like, how in the world did every coach in America forget to recruit this guy? Because he came in, Auburn had to start covering him as soon as he stepped off the bus for the Music City Bowl. Like, dude's just fast. Now he's in the NFL. I think if you can win man, I always forget which division Purdue is in the Big Ten. It's the West, right?
I would think so, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you can win the Big Ten West at Purdue, he's got to do something at Louisville. So I'm excited for it. Good hire on their end.
Yep.
So.
I look for Louisville to go 8-4 this year. Their losses will be Notre Dame, at Pitt, Duke, and Kentucky in the Governor's Cup.
No, I got to go with Louisville beating Kentucky. I just have to. That's where my heart's at, man.
Apologies to Chloe. Chris, what else do you have for us tonight, brother?
So something happened yesterday that has Twitter ablaze today. A former SEC athlete, Alex Collins, passed away.
Yeah.
The first thing I see when I open Twitter today was speculation that it was drug related. And, I just got to put this out there. If your first thought when somebody passes away at an early age is drugs or overdose, man, just get a life. That's not the way you approach things like that. Be respectful of his family. My understanding, it was a motorcycle accident. It was not drug related. And his family shouldn't have to deal with that. So just wanted to touch on that. Great athlete, great football player. Loved watching him play.
Yeah.
Hate to see him his life end like that.
Yeah, I agree. So our thoughts and prayers to the Collins family. I remember watching him at Arkansas. Dude was a monster. Like I hated playing Arkansas when he was there. I also think, before he got injured in the NFL, I thought he was on his way to be RB1 for the Seahawks for the foreseeable future. He was just that good. So I agree with what you're saying, Chris. Y'all get the facts straight before you make assumptions, especially at a time like this. So
Yep.
That's all. Yeah. So again, rest in peace, Alex Collins. Thoughts and prayers to the Collins family. Thank you, Chris, for bringing that up. So my big, the finale, if you will, it's the thing that everyone's talking about. ACC expansion, de-expansion, the deadline passed. Contraction. That's the word. I was over here like, man, I do football, not math. What is this? Yes, the deadline passed today, and FSU is still a member of the Atlantic Coast Conference. So this tells me, obviously, and everyone else watching the situation, I guess they're just going to punt it to next year and just go ahead and play out this year with a really good season on their hands. It looks like a lot of talent coming back to that roster. Looks like they're going to just play as members of the ACC, and then we'll circle back to it and try to get out of this thing next year. It's not so much the exit fee; it's $120 million to leave the Atlantic Coast Conference. They've got that money, no problem. Like that's chump change for all the Florida State boosters. If they would only put that money towards better facilities, maybe Jimbo would have stayed. But that's a different podcast. But what I'm hearing now is the hang-up isn't the exit from the ACC itself. It's the media rights, the shared media agreement or whatever it's called that they all signed. I think ESPN, being a member of the SEC, gives them a potential loophole in that where, the rights stay with ESPN. We're just not going to play under the ACC anymore. Clemson could follow suit because I know that the Tigers want to get out as well. And from what I'm hearing, Big Ten's not super interested in either school right now. They just got finished with their own expansion, taking the 4 best schools out of the Pac-12. But Florida State and Clemson wanted to go to the SEC anyway. And if my source is correct, 1 year from now when we're talking about expansion again, it just won't go away at this point. 1 year from now when we're talking about it again, look for North Carolina to also be in that discussion because if mommy and daddy aren't happy, then the kids aren't happy either. So, and it's coming. It's coming real soon. Just not this year, but if they can find a way, they're going to do it. So your thoughts on that real quick, guys.
But if you give Greg Sankey any credibility at all. He just said this past weekend, the SEC does not need to expand into other time zones to be great.
Okay, but like, I get that. But if like you already ate dinner, right, and you're full, and then Gordon Ramsay shows up and he's like, "Hey, I'm going to make you a steak sandwich," do you say no to that? Like,
No,
oh,
you
well,
do
geez,
not.
I guess I'm hungry again. So no.
But and then you got to factor in that ESPN is losing viewers by the millions and is in financial disarray right now. Can they actually afford to dole out more money to bring somebody else into the SEC?
I would think that, obviously the ESPN is not the same ESPN as when this contract was entered into. I mean, like you said, Chris. I mean, they're in financial distress right now. They're laying off all their best talent. I mean, they're just not the same organization they were even a few years ago, for that matter. So
Yeah.
It's a touchy subject for sure.
Yep, and we've got plenty to talk about that subject. And again, it's not going away anytime soon. To bring more perspective on everything going on at the ACC and college football, we got a special guest tonight, Jake Crain from Crain Company over at the Daily Wire joins the show. Jake, how you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing great. My my one light I got up here in my man cave went out earlier, so it looks like I'm like in the shadows of Mordor right now. So I apologize for that. But
man, Mordor.
Outside of that, man, I'm good. We're getting close to kickoff. I'm ready to go.
We can see
Mordor
it, so that's
great,
good,
man. I didn't know they had couches in the land of darkness. That's awesome.
Yeah, they Sauron got them after the last time. The morale was kind of low, so we got us some couches with like cup holders and stuff. So it's a pretty good situation.
Nice.
I just got to know, do you have any of your Hoosier lager sitting there with you?
Man, I just I saw that picture earlier and it made me just want to go in the driveway and start shooting baskets.
Man, that's awesome. I got to try that stuff. So, but Jake, thank you so much for coming on, brother. Like we were just talking about, it looks like Florida State's staying for at least another year. Do you think it turns into 2 years, 3 years, or is this the swan song for the Seminoles in the ACC?
It's something we've talked about this a ton on Crain Company. Like I will never doubt a lawyer's ability to be able to find an argument. I know when you look at the way the rev share or the way it was worded in the agreement that a certain percentage has to be divvied out based on what you're putting in. Now, like my biggest the thing that I think is happening is I think we have a Friday night at a college bar with college student situation going on. I think Florida State is hiking up their skirt for the SEC because I don't think there's a way. I mean, the question is not if, it's how they would go to the Big Ten. I don't think ESPN, regardless of what situation they're in, is going to let Fox swoop in here and take, a big-time brand like Florida State and Clemson or Miami or North Carolina, Virginia Tech, outside of a conference that's run by ESPN. I think there's a lot better chance of the SEC, who happens to be in a deal with ESPN, and the ACC, who happens to be in a deal with ESPN. If there's going to be any movement with Florida State and Clemson in those schools, I think it would be to the SEC. And don't let Greg Sankey and them fool you. Like the SEC says, "Oh yeah, no, we're not looking to expand really." The slogan of the conference is "It just means more." You didn't hear anything about Texas and Oklahoma till it happened, and I think it's just good business. It's almost we talk about coach speak. It's almost commissioner speak. Not to come out and be like, oh, yeah, well, we definitely want more teams. We have to have more teams. You don't want to look desperate. So I think Florida State's kind of playing to the SEC a little bit, saying, listen, we're open for business. The Big Ten just bought us a drink. We may sit down and, look each other in the eyes and see if there's a spark there, unless, you come over and buy us another drink. So I think it's kind of the hall pass situation.
let me give you this scenario, Jake. Sticking with the college bar. So there's 3 X's right now that are going to try to stop them from getting together. Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida. I don't know if you know, they have a gentleman's agreement that if any of their big rivals, Georgia Tech, Clemson, and Florida State, try to join the conference, they'll all vote no. And in the SEC, if more than 2 schools vote no on an addition, then the deal's automatically null and void and goes back to square one. Do you think that's still going to hold up, or is there anything at all besides Greg Sankey saying no thanks to Florida State eventually joining the mighty SEC?
Well, Well, I remember Texas A&M having a gentleman's agreement with the SEC about Texas.
The Pac-12 had a gentleman's agreement.
Yeah,
with the Big
if they
10.
had a gentleman's agreement, please don't shoot a torpedo into the ship and see how that works out for you. Look, if it's not on paper, like to quote the kid from the Angels in the outfield, it could happen, man. It's at the end of the day, it's about money, right? It's a business. The SEC is a business. College football is a billion-dollar industry. And if it's turning into monopoly, right? I mean, we're heading toward 2 super conferences, which is basically, Walmart and Target just sitting right next to each other. One's just going to be called ESPN. The other one's going to be called Fox. And who knows? Maybe they'll come together one day and battle the Klingons for interstellar domination.
Excellent. Let me ask you this, Jake. All we hear is Florida State and Clemson, Florida State and Clemson, Florida State and Clemson. Just recently, I'm hearing North Carolina might went in on that deal. I got to ask you, if the SEC decides to go 4 instead of 2, bring them up to an even 20, who else do you think would be interested in jumping in?
I think Virginia Tech's a school to watch out for.
Correct answer.
I think Virginia Tech, from a brand standpoint, look, Virginia, University, when you think about the state of Virginia, you think about football. Who do you think of? You don't think of the Cavaliers, right? They're in Cleveland playing in the NBA, still Pistons LeBron. You think about Virginia Tech. Miami's an interesting, caveat as well. You would get that triangle, right? Florida, Florida State, Miami. But I think Virginia Tech is a legitimate threat with North Carolina to come into the SEC. And if that happens, I mean, we're to the point now with, some people call it conference expansion. I call it conference reduction. Look what it's doing to the Pac-12. I think we're headed to a point where if you're the ACC, that's why you have the Atlantic Coast Conference thinking about bringing in a team from Berkeley, California, and Palo Alto. We're running out of brands and markets that are big enough to hold sway, right? The last pretty girl at the dance is Notre Dame. That's why what Brett Yormark and the Big 12 did was so smart. You bring in Houston, big brand, big market. Cincinnati, big brand, big market. Don't understand the Satterfield hire, but that's a story for another day. BYU, you brought in a religion. Congrats, big market. And then I can talk about Arizona and Arizona State and Utah, but then UCF. Big brand, big market. How many other big brands and big markets are left out there, right? Like who's the Pac? We're to the point now where Boise State's like, nah, we don't want to join the Pac-12. We're good. Like we're to that point. Like so, you're running out of schools to be able to grab that are worth their weight.
Future ACC member Boise State, ladies and gentlemen.
Who knows?
So kind of piggybacking off that, Jake, just one more question about expansion. If Clemson and Florida State do leave next year, and let's just say they take North Carolina with them, is there anything left for them? Is it still a competitive enough market to remain a Power 5 or Power 4, I guess, because the Pac-12's out? Is there anything at all that can save them as a whole besides adding Notre Dame, like you just said? So.
Well, that's it. Notre Dame. That's the only one. I mean, again, who else is out there? I'm not, no offense to anybody out there. I don't think that this is wrong. Actually, I really don't care. But
go for it.
Who Wake Forest and Boston, and I love Jeff Hafley and Coach Clawson, but nobody's getting their panties in a wad about Wake Forest playing Boston College. Like, I'm sorry, like this isn't a courtroom. This isn't a math lab. Like this, that nobody's getting super excited about that. Who are you going to go get? Like who legitimately right now is out there that you're like, oh wow, SMU, man, stop before I just absolutely melt in front of everybody. So there's not a lot to shoot. North Dakota State. Hey, come on down here, guys. Let's come throw another overrated quarterback in the NFL. Y'all come on down here. There's not a mixture of a big brand and a big market together that, I think can sustain you or even hold you to the – that's why, again, I'll go back to Brett Yormark. Absolutely genius. Calculated and aggressive. Snatch all the big brands and big markets that are left out there. There's nobody left.
Struck while the iron was hot. He went in there and did it right off the bat and didn't waste any time, and that's what killed the Pac-12. So
I've said it before.
They helped drive the dagger in a little bit deeper.
I've said it before. If the Big 12 wrote the book on how to survive expansion, the Pac-12 just spit on it and threw it right out the window.
Well, the Pac-12, it's not just one decision or one person. It's multiple bad decisions and multiple bad people in leadership over time. But arrogance is what cost the Pac-12.
For sure.
So let me ask you this, Jake.
Go ahead.
I've heard some rumors over the weekend
I didn't do it.
that some of the teams at the 12 are interested in filing some Title IX lawsuits to try and stop this, because what it's doing, it's making it harder for them, and you can't do that. What's your opinion on that, and do you think it's actually going to happen?
No, here's what I would say. And look, I think guys like Eli Drinkowitz, they're right. I mean, if you're having to travel, if you're a sport that doesn't just play 12 games or have the budget and the revenue generated that college football does, I mean, you're asking, the tennis team to go play in Big Ten country all the time and fly back and forth. And, we're talking about Stanford and Cal having to go play an ACC schedule. I think it's different for Texas and Oklahoma in the SEC. That's not a big stretch. That's very doable. But I will say this. Here's the other edge of the sword. You better watch how you act, because if college football decides to separate itself, they're the ones that are paying the bills. And if you want to sit here and play a game of you owe me this and you owe me that, then they can sit here and say, that's fine. Here's what we'll do. We'll separate college football. We'll take our budget. We'll go do our thing. And y'all see how many people show up to the next rowing contest, and if that's going to pay for all y'all's nice stuff. So I think there's a balance there, because, listen, nature versus nurture. I mean, at the end of the day, what you generate, and that's how it is in the real world, even outside of sports, what you generate is what you're going to be surrounded by, is what you're going to be given. They just happen, and it's not their fault. Like, I love watching the women's NCAA basketball tournament, especially the end of it, was fascinating stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I will watch women's high-level softball all the time.
Me
For
too.
sure.
Fascinating.
I will too,
I think
yep.
it's the best sport they got. I think it's the
Yes,
best sport
sir.
they got. But if we're going to look at dollars and cents, there's two sports that really make legit revenue. College baseball breaks about even in the grand scheme of things. It's college football, then college basketball, and then nothing else. I don't know about college wrestling. I don't think it's widespread enough to be able to get an accurate assessment, just because there's not teams in every region like there is in football and is in basketball. But again, you got to kind of be careful what you ask for when it comes to the, oh, well, that's fine, we'll just sue you. Hey, listen, you don't got to sue me. Well, how about this? We'll just shake hands and walk away, right? Shake hands, gentlemen's agreement. Shake hands and walk away.
Give me Oklahoma softball all day long.
Yeah, Patty Gasso, one of the best to ever do it. Gino
I want some James Madison softball in there too. I mean, you got to have them.
Their coach is
Vandy Chris
coach now at Auburn. Yeah, well, you need to figure it out.
Vandy Chris watches James Madison baseball. What? You've got the Nick Saban of baseball coaches, bro. Like, come on.
I'll watch some James Madison softball all day long. That's a team that gets after it.
That's fair. Jake, brother, appreciate you coming on the show. I'm going to let you go for 2 here. Is there anything else on your mind, ACC, non-ACC? What you got for us, brother?
Yeah, and listen, this may upset some people, or upset a person behind the scenes on the show.
Go for it.
The USC hype, okay? I get Caleb Williams mixed with Lincoln Riley, with the rest of the Avengers they have on offense are going to be pretty good.
Yep.
But I'm getting to the point now where I'm slowly turning into Jodie Foster in the Panic Room movie. I just want to go in and lock myself in a closet, because to win the national championship, you have to have balance as a team. USC couldn't stop a nosebleed in a nurse's office, and they haven't been able to. I know it's year 2 under Lincoln Riley, but I don't think they're going to get better enough defensively. And people forget they led the world in turnovers and takeaways last year defensively, which I don't think they're going to replicate that.
Yep.
Even if they're better fundamentally out of a base defense, just in general, they're still going to be outside of what is needed to be able to compete for a national championship. And Lincoln Riley did this at Oklahoma. If somebody shows you who they are, eventually you have to believe them. How many times can the Grinch steal Christmas away from whatever fan base his coaching staff is at? And listen, I'm not saying they won't be good. They'll score 40 points a game. Yep. It'll be the same thing over and over again. But when they play anybody with a defense, that's why Utah runs through them like a finish line every time they play.
Yep.
Oregon's going to be more physical. The Pac-12 is the greatest irony of all time. The year it's disappearing, they may have the second best conference from top to bottom in the whole country.
Absolutely.
So spare me this USC. They're the Globetrotters, man. You know how many championships the Globetrotters run? None, because they don't play defense.
I got a little trivia for you, Jake. Great points. They're kind of like the reverse Iowa. If you remember last year, Iowa's top 10
They
in
are
defense.
reverse Iowa. It's M. Night Shyamalan, Iowa.
And I've actually got the exact numbers of where their total offense and defense were ranked. So I just want to see if you can guess. Where do you think their total offense was last year?
Top 5. Has to be. I would think top 5, top 10 at worst, maybe number 3. I do know.
You got it.
I do know
number
Lincoln
3.
Riley's given up 52 points a game in the 4 bowls that he's playing in that mattered. So there's that.
That's true. You got it right on the money, man. It was number 3. So good job.
I do this, dog.
But yeah, I'm not going to even let you ponder on defense because they're not even in the top 100 last year.
Can I guess?
Yeah, go for it.
Look, I'm 1 for 1. I'm playing with house money now.
Yeah.
It's like blackjack out in Vegas last week. I'm going to say they were.
I gave you a hint, so.
Yeah, I want to go. I'm going to go in dry. I'm going in dry.
Okay. All right.
Give me 119.
You were correct about outside the top 100, but no, they were 106.
Okay, well, I had the 9. It was just upside down.
Wow.
So
Yeah, close enough.
I had that.
Close enough. Basically, if you're outside the top 100, it's all the same defense at that point.
Yes, it is.
So,
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is
We'll
horrible.
say you were 2 for 2.
Thank you, Matthew. I will accept that. Thank you.
Good point. I also think, and I feel like I'm the only draft guy that says this because people will automatically assume I hate Caleb Williams. I think he's going number 1 overall. Like he could go out for 20
nobody's
interceptions.
arguing that. Caleb Williams is 100%
Yes.
I'm not arguing that.
The thing is,
again, look, you look at that schedule. It's not exactly a walk in the park. When you go top to bottom, I know early, first 3 games, it's they should be able to walk pretty well. I think it's San Jose State. I'm trying to remember the next 2. I think Nevada may be one of them, just off the top of my head. But there's 4 or 5 landmines in there. I wouldn't be shocked if USC lost 3 games.
Yeah. And you've also got to think they've now got the whole conference has a year of film on Caleb Williams to watch now. I wouldn't be surprised if he struggles a little bit and USC goes 10-2, but he'll still go number 1. But I just don't think people should expect a repeat Heisman season. So, but Jake, that was 1 point. What else do you have?
Man, I was going to talk about Ohio State being ranked in front of LSU, which I didn't.
Yes.
But my guy Chris, Iowa in the top 10. Iowa in the top 10.
Get him.
Did I hear you
Get him,
say that
Jake.
right?
Yes, you did.
Man, in gambling?
You got to think though. They've got a quarterback that can run the offense for them now. They're going to score a lot more than 7 points a game than they did last year, and they've got that nasty defense. And defense wins championships.
You got run the offense correct because all he did at Michigan was hand the ball off because he can't throw.
Obviously Petrus last year he's one of the worst quarterbacks in Division I. I'll give you that. And it's going to be, and they are going to be better offensively than they were last year. I mean, it couldn't get much worse. I mean, it's like watching Eddie Grant in Kentucky there in the last couple of years. I tell you a team to watch out for, though, in the Big Ten West that I think could legitimately win double-digit games in the regular season.
Let's hear it.
We'll talk about them tomorrow. Watch out for Wisconsin.
Yes. Wisconsin.
Yep.
Luke Fickell. They returned 3 of their defensive linemen. They got 2 guys at linebacker I really like. They're experienced in the secondary. They got a corner I really like. I'm not worried about Luke Fickell in the defense of Wisconsin, but offensively,
Phil Longo.
They return their Phil Longo. Yep. They return their 3 best receivers. Braylon Allen, maybe a top 3 back in the country when it comes down to it. And they have the Siberian cave trolls up front that just walk out and they somehow snare with harpoon guns and bring to the field. They're like 6'8", 6'9". I don't know where they keep finding them. I do. It's 7 Foot Island. Matthew will know where that is.
Yeah.
But Phil Longo mixed with Luke Fickell, because Phil Longo comes from that air raid tree, but it's not going to be like Mike Leach air raid, high-low op, shallow cross, mesh just the whole time, and eventually everybody just drops 8 and keeps everything in front. They're going to be a balanced offense, somewhat run to pass. But Tanner Mordecai, the center from SMU, the quarterback, I'm telling you, this kid. He's got some Hogwarts in him if you go and watch. I mean, he basically was his own episode of Whose Line Is It Anyway from an improvisational standpoint last year at SMU, because he's had to run around and create the whole time because they couldn't block somebody on social media last year. Watch out for Tanner Mordecai with the Siberian cave trolls up front, Braylon Allen in the backfield. They got some transfers in at wide receiver, including a kid from Cincinnati who I like a lot. They only play Ohio State at home. No Michigan.
Yep.
No Penn State. You got to go on the road, non-conference. I'm not worried about at Washington State. They'll shove them in a locker. But you got at Illinois, right? You've got at Minnesota to end the year. If you're able to, Camp Randall gets weird, and I don't trust Ohio State right now. They've got
new quarterback. Yep.
Yeah, but they don't have the whole puzzle.
Right.
Don't be shocked if Wisconsin. And then think about this. Let me just run this ground ball out for you real quick. All right, Wisconsin. Let's say they lose to Ohio State, right?
Yes.
Let's just say
Which
that
they will.
lose that camp around. They jump around, but it's not jumping. They don't jump around enough to win the game, right? So let's say they're 11-1 going into the Big Ten championship game. Let's say Michigan is 12-0, which could be very, very likely happen.
Oh yeah.
Could very likely, especially if they went on the road to Penn State. Michigan's 12-0 going in the Big Ten championship game, knowing they're in the playoff, right? Probably ranked number 2, or if Georgia loses the game, ranked number 1. What if Michigan just overlooks Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game because they're still focused on blowing it against TCU last year, and Luke Fickell, finds a way to just, shenanigan his way through that game and they win it? Could Wisconsin get in the playoff? Yeah, I said it.
I think so. I think they're this year's TCU. Not enough people are putting money on them, so it's a good point.
Well,
you know who my TCU is this year?
Who you got?
We know.
UTSA when they go into Knoxville and beat the Balls.
Look, man, they play Tennessee and then they play somebody else. They play Houston week 1. They play Houston. And I tell you, man, Frank Harris, the dude can play.
Super
They
underrated.
returned some cats. I think they lost Cephas, but Jeff Traylor. I'm gonna say this too. Dana Holgerson, if he struggles and gets fired at Houston, Jeff Traylor's gonna get that job.
They lost Zachary Franklin.
Franklin, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
But Frank Harris has been there so long. He needs to run for mayor of San Antonio.
Yeah, I mean, him and Sean Clifford are already getting their AARP cards.
Stetson Bennett already got his.
Yeah, Stequavius. How about him in the NFL, man? Knew it. God, I'm so glad I was right about that and Blaine was wrong, Matthew. You have no idea. Just the blossoming personal joy that fills me with.
I can imagine. I'm still miffed at him being like 3-0 against Auburn or 7-0 against Auburn. I don't know how long he was there.
Stetson was something in 0 against a lot of people.
Especially with that defense. But I do wish him luck in the NFL. I don't know how long he'll last, but he looked good.
I don't know, man.
He looked real good, man. So
he looks like he belongs.
Yeah,
looks like he's no worse than Chase Daniel. Chase Daniel's been in the league forever.
I'd take him over Jimmy Garoppolo right now. That's for certain.
How about Aiden O'Connell though?
Yes.
And to be fair, I wanted Stetson Bennett to reside in Nashville, Tennessee.
I wouldn't have been pissed about that. I wouldn't have been pissed about that.
You're not a Will Levis fan?
No. God almighty. Vrabel was sitting behind us in the UFC fight. I want to turn around and be like, man, what were y'all thinking? Like, who? Look, I'll do it for half. And I'll say to you, I can't wait to watch Will Levis just throw off platform his way out of the NFL. It's gonna be great. Can't wait to watch it.
Okay, well here's what we'll do, Jake. If Chris's Iowa prediction comes true, we'll make you go to Nashville or the Titans' next open tryout camp, and we'll have you throw some passes for Vrabel.
Look, I'll do that if Iowa doesn't win a game. That sounds great. I'd love to do that.
All right,
I can do what the Titans quarterback does: be an okay intermediate passer and hand the ball to that thing, Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Jake, brother, thank you so much for coming on, man. Where can people find you, follow you, all that good stuff? How's that subscription count on YouTube looking?
Man, we're almost to 100,000. I just want to throw that party before college football season. So I want to get there. I think we're 4,000 away. No, I think we're like 3,500 away right now. I got to call my scientists. So my crack team will get on it. But no, look. I'm probably not going to get a lot of USC or Ohio State fans. So if you're a Wisconsin fan, or maybe not, no, just kidding. Come over. It's really easy. We go live every weekday morning, 6:30 a.m. Central, so 7:30 a.m. Eastern. To 9 a.m. Eastern. We have live calls Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're probably going to start doing that every day of the week. We have a live chat. It's called the Booster Club. That's our cult. Come join us. College football is a cult in itself. We're just like a sub-cult within the cult. Yeah, man, we have a lot of fun. It's me, my brother, and David Cohn. And, I played and coached. Cohn played quarterback at Michigan. Blaine played wide receiver in college. So we have a lot of fun. We dig down deep and get some pretty cool guests. But, man, come check it out.
Absolutely. I can endorse that. I listen to Crain Company every day at work. They got some good stuff over there, so y'all go check them out. And Jake, if you hit 100,000, throw that party, man. I got the cigars, so just send me an invite.
Oh gosh, please sign me up. Cigars and whiskey. We'll play a game
Yes,
and look at each other. Let's be honest.
Awesome, Jake. Thank you so much for coming on, brother.
Thank
we'll
you,
catch
Jake.
you later. So,
Hey, y'all be good, man.
Thanks, Jake.
Awesome, man. Jake Crain, ladies and gentlemen, on the show. Man,
he had some good one-liners, man. He was just having fun.
He's good.
Listen, the thing I appreciate about Jake is the dude is like low-key a nerd. When he's talking about Mordor and Lord of the Rings and Hogwarts and all that, I'm like, you read. You're just like me. You read. But in half the audience are like, who's Thorin? Yeah, I love Crain Company. I've been following him since the J-Boy show. They got some good stuff going on over there, so y'all check them out. Also, Chris, that's the first time I've heard anyone say anything about Iowa in the top 10. I'm gonna be watching them, like, no pun intended, with a Hawkeye. Daggum. All right. Well, we'll be right back after a quick message from our new partners over at Dan-O Seasoning.
Yum, yum, get you some. Very good. Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some.
Dan-O Seasoning, food's favorite flavor.
Yum, yum, get you some.
I'm Joe Burrito, your favorite burrito. Whoa, whoa.
Joe,
Hey.
we all know you're the best.
What?
But you can always do better.
What you got?
Try the new Dan-O's Hot Chipotle.
Hey. Ooh, that's spicy. Yum, yum.
Yum, yum, get you some.
What did I just watch? A great commercial. That was a great commercial, but wow.
That thing makes you laugh just as hard as Farmer's Dog makes you cry, man.
That's going to give me a good job, Dan-O's, for replacing my commercial nightmares from that monkey baby pug or whatever Mountain Dew did for the Super Bowl. But I love Dan-O's. They got some good seasoning. So we've got our own code right now, I believe. We'll get our producer Colin to throw that up there on the screen so that you can go check them out. So the game ball segment is next, everyone. This is the part of the show where we just kind of give a shout out to, or give a game ball, I should say, just to whatever caught our eye this week. Can be football, can be anything. Tony, what you got?
I've got the LSU Tigers putting 2 players on the Buckus Award watch list. One of only 7 schools in the country to do that. Harold Perkins Jr. and Omar Spates, a transfer from Oregon State. They are going to be monsters in the middle for the Tigers.
Hey, man. I'm with you there, but I also love the preseason hype that Mason Smith is getting in draft circles because, listen, that guy, if he can regain his form pre-injury, he is a lock for the first round. Like, he is a monster on the defensive line. And also, which I'm a big draft dude. So the list that I see are like mock first and everything. Jaden Daniels is starting to pop up on some places. And I'm already hearing like Jalen Hurts comparisons from a couple of scouts. So I'm excited to see what he does in his second year.
He's going to be better than last year.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Give me Malik Neighbors over whoever the last guy was. The last big, I don't know. But good stuff, Tony. Go Tigers, except when they play Auburn. Chris, what do you have for us today?
I'm going to go Homer style, and I'm just going to throw a game ball out to Vanderbilt Athletic Administration for opting to play their games at home this year. They announced there's some rumors that home attendance this year is going to be 28,000. That's fine if you're Vanderbilt. But here's the thing. People, you got to expand and you got to upgrade your facilities. And everybody, they knew ahead of time that this was going to go through the football season. These facilities are opening next year, and they've stuck to their guns and went with the game plan. I'm all for it. Good job, Vanderbilt, for sticking to it.
Yep. The memes are going to be hilarious, though.
Yes.
This season. I'll say that. The memes are going to be great. But, yeah, I agree with you there. It's just part of the process, you know. People have been wanting renovations for Vanderbilt Stadium for a long time. And you know what? You finally got it. So there's no reason to complain now. Besides, you can't just snap your fingers and construction's done. My family would know that from building our house all those years ago. Good stuff. I've actually got one that I'm going to hand out to my man, Jim Harbaugh. So he gets my game ball this week and you can read about it in my latest column. I think that Jim just he pulled the pin out of the grenade that's eventually going to blow up in the NCAA's face. I think more coaches and colleges are starting to realize these guys don't actually have that much power. They just play favorites and go wherever the money goes and try to stay relevant through like decades old suspensions, And Jim Harbaugh basically just said, no, I'm not going to play along. You have no evidence of how much that cheeseburger was that I gave it to that kid. I'm showing up anyway. Like he was going to be at the games anyways. So who looks like an idiot now? And the NCAA caved finally and said something about like, we're still looking into it. It had nothing to do with the cheeseburger. Yeah, it did. Don't change the story now just because you lost. Yep. So yeah, good job, Jim. Hopefully more coaches start to realize that fact, and they also start standing up to him and be like, well, to quote Jack from Jack in the Box, if you're mad about it, do something about it. So.
Yeah.
But with our game balls, folks, and if you've got anyone you want to shout out in the chat, let us know. We'll pop it up on the screen. But with our game balls, there also comes the penalty flags, and that one's sponsored by our friends over at Bones Coffee with a quick message right here.
Boy, that's mediocre.
Then what the
are you doing? I was drinking that.
No, you were surviving it. Give excitement a try with Bones Coffee. Click on the link below to order some for yourself. Here. Whoa is right. That substance you were sipping before is what we in the industry refer to as ass water. Sure, it technically has caffeine, but at Bones Coffee, we believe in the experience of waking up every morning looking forward to that first tasty cup. That's why we roast carefully selected beans in small batches to perfection, so you can count on quality in every cup. And not only that, Bones has a ton of fabulous flavors.
Penalty flags, gentlemen. Who gets it? Who screwed up? Who made us mad? Tony, I saw your hand first. Who you got?
Man, let's go with the perpetual bozos, also affectionately known as the NCAA, for crawfishing on the suspension of Jim Harbaugh.
Crawfishing?
Yes.
What is that? I've never heard that before.
Means they walked it back. In other words, they pulled their head out of the sand. Yes, they pulled their head out of the sand long enough to supposedly show their might, and then now they're going to step it back and not do anything about it. Not that he deserved to be suspended anyway, for sure. But my penalty flag is on the wishy-washy NCAA.
I'm stealing that saying now, crawfishing, and I'm going to
use
it. That's awesome. Couldn't agree with you more. As great as it made as great as it made Jim Harbaugh look, it certainly didn't help the NCAA's case for, we're still in charge. So time to run the old sheriff out of town. Make Nick Saban the commissioner for college football so he leaves Alabama, please. That's a good one. Chris, who you throwing your flag at?
I'm going to throw my flag at the national media for criticizing Vanderbilt playing their football games at home. I've seen so much trash talk on Twitter about Vanderbilt and the look of their stadium. Guess what? Construction sites are ugly.
Yep.
But you don't get beautiful facilities by just sitting on your hands and twiddling your thumbs.
Yep.
They're doing what everybody has begged them to do for years.
Yep.
And now they're complaining about it because it's ugly. Well, guess what? Texas Tech is ugly. They're doing construction. Oregon State's doing construction. There's so many people doing construction. My God, Texas went 2 years with a construction site on their football facility.
Yep.
So, national media, there's your penalty flag. You're getting 15 yards.
Yep. And Auburn's next to go through that construction phase when they put in their little Applebee Juniors in the corner of Jordan-Hare. So I'm still mad about that. But that's not who my penalty flag is going to. Good point, Chris. I'm going to throw into the ACC, though. And Jake actually kind of touched on this. The Big 12 did the right thing by striking when the iron was hot. They pulled in a bunch of great programs. They survived. ACC didn't do nothing. I'm seeing similarities between them and the Pac-12 because, listen, if these Florida State and Clemson exits are true and they happen next year, ACC's got to have a game plan now. And you know what? They probably could have quelled all of that expansion talk or what's the word? Dadgummit. Starts with a D. Tony, the thing opposite of expansion, de-expansion. I'm just gonna make
contraction.
What? Sure, contraction, whatever. Crawfishing. When they could have quelled all of that right now if they had just immediately been like, "Hey, everyone else is expanding. The Big 10 did it, Big 12 did it, SEC did it. We're gonna do it too." And they could have easily added Notre Dame because Notre Dame's already in the ACC. I don't know if you guys know this. Their basketball plays in the ACC. Their baseball's in the ACC. The football is exclusive though to the independent status so that they can keep the NBC deal. It just makes way too much sense for them to be like, hey, this is the year, playoffs expanding. You got to be taken seriously more. We got a conference championship. You guys can play. And they did nothing. So, and now they're trying to talk about California and Stanford. That's great. But then 4 schools vetoed it. And I mean, if you're really this desperate and concerned about expansion, why are you vetoing schools now? I don't think you have a choice. So that's our time for penalty flags. So everyone, if you can think of anything else in the comments that you want to throw a flag at, let us know. We'll shout it out, maybe pop it up on the screen. But we got a couple of guests for all of you tonight before we wrap things up here on our ACC special. I want to start first, guys, with our Miami insider. He's also a writer for Mike Farrell Sports. Scott Salomon, you here, brother? I guess not. Oh, there he is. Scott.
Hey, guys.
So glad we could beam you up on the Enterprise. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing fantastic. I really couldn't be doing any better.
Well, that's great because I've got some hard questions about Miami for you. Just kidding. But speaking of Miami, last year was kind of a dud, or maybe it wasn't because everyone knew it was a rebuild year. I don't know. They've got the right coach, I think, in Mario Cristobal, but I'm just curious what you think, someone that follows the program a lot more closely. How's the Hurricanes looking this year? What should be their outlook and fans' expectations going into 2023?
They're going to be very fast. They're probably going to be one of the fastest teams in America. I think that the biggest problem that they had last year was their coordinators didn't take advantage of their size and speed that they had on the perimeter and in the backfield. You've got 2 great running backs coming in Chris Johnson and Mark Fletcher. They're going to have an incredible season. They are both track guys who set state records last year. Then, of course, you've got Tyler Van Dyke coming back at quarterback. He was injured last year. He hurt his shoulder for most of the year, but he's going to be coming back healthy with an offensive coordinator that's going to put him into an air raid.
Who's the new offensive coordinator, Scott? I didn't catch that out.
Shannon Dawson. He was at Houston last year.
Yes. Okay. All right. So do you have a record prediction, though?
I see Miami going 9-3.
Oh. Wow. So they could be in contention for something, is what you're saying.
I don't know if they'll be in competition for the ACC championship game, but I think they'll go to a bowl game for sure.
This is
bowl game.
This is the part of the show where Matt starts trying to put words in other.
Who do you see them losing to, Scott?
I see them losing to North Carolina, Clemson, and Florida State.
They play Florida though this year, don't they?
No,
did I make that up in my head. I made that up in my head. Okay.
They play Florida next year.
That's right. That's what I'm thinking of. They'll beat them next year too. I think Miami should be fine. I hope they get back to relevance soon though, because if there's anything we learned from watching USC's sudden resurgence last year, it's just that college football is better when the Blue Bloods are actually behaving like Blue Bloods. So, except Texas.
Let me ask Scott real quick. We know that the federal authorities are investigating the booster Ruiz.
Oh, jeez.
How much of a distraction is that going to be off the field for what goes on the field?
Not at all. It's not going to affect him at all. John Ruiz only counts for between 15 and 20% of the NIL collective. Canes Connection is about 80%, and they're planning on being 100% next year. So Ruiz is really being phased out. He was good when we needed him, but he made some mistakes with his company, and they might have a price to pay. But it's not going to affect the university. and it's not going to affect the school. And don't bring up Nevin Shapiro.
We won't bring up Nevin Shapiro, but we will bring up Mario Cristobal. I don't know. So a lot of people actually, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of people actually credit Nick Saban's success at Alabama to Mario Cristobal because he was his right hand man for a few years. As a recruiter, he was an ace on the trail. Took that to Oregon, flipped that program around after, I don't know, their 15th coach resigned. So I think he's the right man for the job, and I think he's already made some moves for Miami in terms of recruiting. I'm just wondering, Scott, is there a player maybe we should be keeping an eye on for a commitment or a flip?
Well, we just had Elias Rudolph flip from Michigan.
Yes, correct.
That was a big move for us.
Yeah.
And I think Miami's going to get the number one receiver in the country. They got a commitment from Josiah Trader, and he's an awesome ball player.
His last name's Trader?
Trader, yeah.
Trader, okay.
He's an incredible ball player. He's got speed. He's got the flash. He's got everything. And I really think that they're going to make some surprises and get some more flips.
He definitely fits the mold of Miami players, right?
Yeah, he does. He's a Michael Irvin type player. I don't like comparing anybody really to Michael, who I went to school with, by the way. But he really has a combination of it all. He really is the new playmaker.
So, Scott, I love talking Miami, man, but I'm also curious about what else is on your mind. I did this with Jake, just asked him to go for two. Do you have anything else you want to talk about right here on the show?
Yeah, I got two things I want to talk about.
Go for it. Go for two.
Okay, going for two. First thing is my partner, Kyle Golick, and I are going to be having a podcast on the Dawgs Network. It's going to be called Classic Bones. We're going to bring you back to the good old days. Before you guys were born, we're going to teach you a little lesson about the history of college football. We're going to go back to the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and talk about how good those Miami teams were. The next thing is...
I'm super excited for that. So
I had a story appear yesterday on Mike Farrell Sports website on Deion Sanders, and it's gotten a lot of good traction, and I encourage everybody to read it. It's about how I don't think Deion Sanders is going to work out in Colorado, and so far I think I'm the only one that's bold enough to make that prediction.
Okay. I mean, it's just year one, right? He's done a good job recruiting. He brought Shader, Sanders, and Hunter over with him. Is this like after 3 or 4 years? And keep in mind, Mel Tucker got the Michigan State job after going 5-7 at Colorado. So,
well, don't forget, he didn't just recruit. He brought in about 75 new players.
About
transfers,
a whole new
recruits. These guys practice. After practice, they learn each other's names. I mean, they don't know anybody. I don't think the cohesion is going to be there. I don't think the chemistry is going to be there. And I think that it's terrible what he did.
Do you have a win-loss record prediction you want to put on the air? Or?
Yeah, I think Colorado is going to lose every game.
Wow.
All right.
Blown out at TCU, and it's going to be all downhill from there.
Wow.
I hadn't gone as far as not winning a game, but they have a lot of comeuppance due after what went on there in their spring game and after their spring game with everybody ditching.
I would have given them at least 5. Wow. All right, 0-12 Colorado Buffs. You heard it here first. Scott, thank you so much for taking the time out to join us, brother. Where can people find you, follow you, read up all your good work, all that good stuff?
My Twitter handle is @Scott Salomon, and I'm on Facebook, but you can catch me on MikeFarrellSports.com, and you can catch me on CollegeFootballDogs.com.
Awesome. Brother, thank
Good job,
you so much.
Scotty.
So we'll talk to you later, all right?
Thanks, fellas.
Scotty.
Scott Salomon. That is a offensive coordinator name if I've ever heard one. So love it. Good stuff from our friend Scott. Y'all stick around for Classic Bones when that comes on. Like he was saying, I'm super pumped for that show. I'm also super pumped for, well, I'll kind of let him explain it. We've got another guest, Mr. Trevor Griswold. I'm going to demand walk-in music if he gets one. So
just absolute music to my ears. And I'm not talking about the Notre Dame victory march there. Yeah. Jake Crain's his thoughts on the USC Trojans that Ronald McDonald Club. Oh, if we could have a USC preview podcast and have him on, I'm all for it.
Wow. My goodness. What did you call it? The Ronald McDonald what?
Ronald McDonald Club of LA.
Because of the yellow and I get it.
Yeah. Those beautiful Ronald McDonald colors that they like to don there.
That's funny. I love that. Well, Trevor Griswold, ladies and gentlemen, joins the show. Trevor, thank you so much for coming on, Mr. Grizz. Seeing the Notre Dame shirt, I'm just going to assume that you're going to talk about Notre Dame football. So what's the season outlook for Marcus Freeman's squad in year 2 of the Freeman era?
Well, Notre Dame, they're in a spot this year where after last year, it was kind of, toss and turn. They had that big win against Clemson, but also I hear about that Marshall loss consistently every day of my life, I think they're going to be a lot better this year. I mean, Marcus Freeman went out and got Sam Hartman, and he could end up being the best quarterback in my lifetime at Notre Dame. If you really think there's Brady Quinn, but after that, who else?
Ian Book, good sir, took the Irish to the playoffs. Come on now.
I don't know. Sam Hartman's the most prolific passer in ACC history, so
that's true.
I'm expecting big things out of him.
But even though we touchdown passes,
absolutely, and even though we have Sam Hartman, we're going to be a run pass or a run team first before the pass. I don't know if you guys have heard of Audric Estime. He split time last year with Logan Diggs, but he's going to be taking more of the rock this year. And that guy is Jerome Bettis Jr. if I've ever seen one in my life. So him and then 3 possible first-round picks in the offensive line.
Yep.
I just see them hammering every single game.
Yep.
So it's going to be that old school football, and then maybe a deep pass there with that arm that Sam Hartman has. But the offense is going to be greatly improved from last year.
Are you do you think there's a shot at all if Notre Dame comes out of the gate struggling like they did last year, if Marcus Freeman's going to find himself in some hot water?
I hear this a lot, actually, and I really disagree on the entire stance.
Okay. Marcus
Freeman is loved in South Bend so much more than Brian Kelly ever was, even in his playoff years. There's just a feeling about him. He just knows what Notre Dame is about. Even though he's an Ohio State alum, he gets Notre Dame. Brian Kelly was put up with because he was able to get some wins here, where I feel like Marcus Freeman is going to have a lot more leeway. I would never see it happening unless we had some crazy injuries. Sam Hartman went down. But if we went 5-7 this year, I think he's still got a solid year left in him.
Wow.
So what if Marvin Freeman pulls out old school Lou Holtz and starts punching his players? Are you going to run them out of town that way?
Absolutely. Actually, my thinking is he's an Ohio State man, so I'm curious if Notre Dame pulls one out and goes 12-1 this year and beats Ohio State, if Ohio State says, Ryan Day, you can't be Michigan, get out of here. We want Coach Freeman over here. So that's kind of what I'm thinking as a Notre Dame man.
Wow. Trev, so who does Sam Hartman have to throw to? I know they got is it Chris Tyree? Is that his name? A slot receiver?
That's a great question.
But they did lose some players from the perimeter. So who for Sam Hartman to throw to?
That's why it's hard to gauge him this year. We have that great quarterback that we haven't had in some time. We have a great offensive line, but on the perimeter, and then even at tight end, it's a lot of question marks.
Right.
We're hearing great things out of practice, but let's wait and see after week 1, week 2, after the Ohio State game, what we have there. Like you said, Tyree, he was a running back up until this year, but he that man, like you said, Miami, or like Scott said, Miami speed. He's got Miami speed. So he's going to be great if he can just, learn that position quickly, because he's been, a running back his entire life here. So he'll be interesting to watch. And then we also have a true freshman, Jaden Greathouse. That's a name to watch. He might end up being the star of this whiteouts.
That kid went to Austin Westlake High School.
Yeah, he has had a tremendous spring and fall camp from what I hear. So I think he might explode and the nation might be knowing his name halfway through the season. I hope.
What about, so I've got two names I'm going to drop for you real quick. Just what about Tobias Mayweather, and also what about Tommy Reese? Does that have anything to? Do you think that'll impact how Sam does here? Or
So the whole Andy Ludwood thing, you know, he was supposedly our next offensive coordinator, and then supposedly we didn't want to pay the money to Utah to grab him, which was a little scary.
right?
Tommy Reese wasn't very liked, I would say, in South Bend. It didn't seem like a huge loss. It was almost kind of a joke when Alabama wanted him. We're like, you really wanted him? Okay. You know? So
Yeah, it was.
We'll see how Gerard Parker can do. He's called plays before. He was the head coach for half a season at Purdue back, I think, in 2016. So he has the experience of leading. So we'll see how he does. I think the offense is going to stay about the same since he worked with Tommy for a couple seasons here. So I'm not too worried about that. And then was your other question, Tobias Merriweather?
Yes.
He's another big name to watch out. And then also Deion Colsey. They're also fighting there. They're expected to be the starters at the beginning of the season. I've just been hearing a lot about this Jaden Greathouse that's really been fighting them for some snaps there.
Very good. Real quickly though, is there a we know that Marcus Freeman's a good recruiter, so I'm just curious, is there any names that we should be looking out for that could be joining the Fighting Irish pretty soon?
So CJ Carr, he's actually from my neck of the woods here in Mid-Michigan. He plays
no relation to Derek Carr, is there?
No, but he is Chad Carr's grandson.
Oh, okay.
Lloyd Carr.
Lloyd Carr. He is Chad
Yes.
Carr.
Oh.
Lloyd Carr's grandson. So we stole him from Michigan. But he is fantastic. He's been lighting up camps these last couple years, and he's a fringe 4 or 5 star recruit there. He's a top 50 recruit. So big things for him, and it's looking like he could possibly be starting as a true freshman next year. So we'll see what happens next year. There's going to be lots of turnover.
So Trevor, I just wanted to tell you thank you on behalf of the Vanderbilt fan base, because we now have our first 5-star ever in the name of Prince Colley, the transfer linebacker from Notre Dame. Is that going to impact your defense at all, losing him?
Not at all. And I will say I love Coach Lee. He was a great get. You know, he came from Notre Dame as well over there at Vanderbilt. But our linebackers are stacked this season. We do have a big question mark on defenses here, and that's the defensive line. But with Prince Colley leaving, that's perfect. We still got two returning linebackers, and then we have a sophomore coming up. I'm blanking on his name here. He's a athletic freak.
What?
I can't find it. So yeah, but
You're
he's
good.
an athletic
You're
freak. And I'll get to you after the show with him. But yeah, our linebackers are absolutely stacked here.
So I mentioned before we brought you on, Trevor, I mentioned bets, and I believe that there's something coming very soon to collegefootballdogs.com called Dawgs Best Bets. You'll get access to it in the Discord with the subscription. More details to come. And Trevor here is actually our leading man in that, so I'm just going to let him give us all a preview for all of us gamblers out there, if you don't mind. Trevor, what's your sneaky picks this year in the ACC or in college football? You know, how can I tell me how to make $1,000 tomorrow, if you don't mind. So
absolutely, I'll try my best. Right. So here at College Football Dogs, we're not worried about those lottery winning 15 pick parlays. Right. We're just gonna give you the best straight up picks against the spreads, and give you, with our best knowledge, the best picks, so you can beat Vegas on Saturdays.
For sure.
So I got a few ACC picks for you here, Matt. One that I absolutely love is right now you can get Clemson, and Vegas is giving you 2 losses. So you can get Clemson at over under 9.5. And I love taking the over on that because that defense is stacked as always. And I know there's some people that don't believe in Clemson, but I am on the Clemson train this year. You know, they got a Riley coaching offense now. DJ's out of there. They got
that's right.
Dominick there, and they got that fast, quick speed in the backfield there. So
Clemson on the over. I honestly thought you were going to say under, but that's a good point. I keep forgetting Garrett Riley's in the ACC now. It doesn't make sense. But okay.
Too. I mean, you always got to look at schedules over and under, and yet even if they were to lose to Notre Dame and Florida State, which I personally think that they may very well run the table, but if they lose to both of them, they could easily run the rest of the table there and still hit that over. So I think that 9.5 is just an easy hit there. But
who else you got? Any? You got a couple more?
Yeah, I got two more for you. One that Tony is going to absolutely love here. I have just hit the under hard on Duke. So the over-under on Duke is 6.5, and I do not see them hitting 7 wins at all this season. And I'll tell you exactly why. Do you know how many top 25 teams they played last year?
How many?
0.
Yeah.
0 teams. They lost
to
one. Georgia Tech. You know, they played some terrible football teams last year. This year they got Notre Dame, they got Clemson, they got Florida State, Pittsburgh. You know, that's just 4 that I just rattled off right there that all should be surefire losses, is my personal opinion. On top of that, you know, it's Duke. You know, I literally think that all their entire record last year is just based on an absolute terrible schedule. So I'm crushing that under there. Not a big fan of the quarterback there. I think he's a little overrated personally. And then my last one, my
thanks for coming, Trevor. We appreciate
it. So my favorite pick in the ACC, Pittsburgh, over under 6.5. I think they're going to win their first 7 games with ease. The schedule again is very easy. Pat Narduzzi's the man. He's consistent. 8-9 wins every year. They might not win the ACC, but 6.5 should just be cake for Pittsburgh this year.
I will tell you this, a non-ACC pick that I'm looking at, Trevor. Vegas has Auburn at 6 wins, but with the talent that Hugh Freeze has added, and because he's known to pull out 1 or 2 wins that he shouldn't every year, Mom, Dad, we've never gambled before, but take my life savings. Take Auburn on the over, y'all. I apologize. You can find more of Trevor's good work on Dawgs Best Bet coming soon this season. Trevor, I'm not quite going to let you go. Just Alabama, right here, and I think if it's who I'm assuming it is this Kenny?
It's Fleetwood McGillicuddy.
Oh man. The Auburn Guru, ladies and gentlemen, Kenneth Ingram joins the show. Kenny, what's good, brother?
What's good? I'm gonna go ahead and start this off real quick. Y'all can follow me on College Football Dogs, Twitter, the Auburn Guru, and the podcast show here, but also I'm going to be a part of Smacking Off podcast show, so you can follow me there if you want more of me. Now we're fishing a rant.
Well, hold on a second, Kenny. Trevor, real quick, where can people, besides Dawgs Best Bet, where can people find you and follow you?
Absolutely. You can find me at Twitter at Grizz Dawgs. That's Grizz and then Dogs, DAWGS.
Okay, perfect. Any final remarks? All right, too late. Kenny, go.
Go ahead, Kenny.
What you got, brother?
All right, so here we go. All this expansion stuff, talk about Clemson coming to the SEC. The best thing I can tell them is to stay in the SEC, to stay over there in the ACC and leave the SEC alone. Here's the bad thing about it. Everybody in the SEC, in the ACC, you have a winning record against, except Florida State. Except Florida State. But you want to talk about the SEC, you want to come play with the big dogs. Let's talk about the big dogs. You've never played Arkansas, and the only 2 teams currently in the SEC that you have a winning record against is crap South Carolina and who knows what in Mizzou. Who knows what? The rest of them you're losing against. But here's the thing that I got to say. The main one you're losing against is Vandy Candy. They ain't been irrelevant in the SEC since the 30s. They ain't won more than 5 games, and you want to come over here and play with the big dogs. Stay home. Stay in your conference. Leave us alone, and don't even think about coming. I'd rather take Florida State than y'all saw yourself. Now, here's where I want to go. We're going to talk about something that's very, very going to be fun. We're going to talk about Notre Dame. So,
Oh my
all y'all
God.
talking about Notre Dame this and Notre Dame that, Notre Dame this. First thing I gotta say is how you let the sorry school in the SEC steal a 5-star linebacker, huh? We got an answer to that.
Chris, you're just gonna sit here and take that?
Huh?
Because he wasn't going to start anymore. He got pushed off the team, just like Logan Diggs went to LSU.
Yep.
Okay. Well, let's talk about your schedule. Y'all really think you win more than 5?
Notre Dame win more than 5?
Yeah.
You need to come back with a little more respect than that.
That's the Vegas.
Come on, bro. You're going to lose. I'm going out there to tell you. You're losing to North Carolina State. You're losing to Ohio State. You're losing to Duke. You're losing to USC. You're losing to Louisville. Hold on. I'm
think you
fixing.
should, put your money where your mouth is with Vegas there. Vegas has got that.
You're going to lose to Clemson. You'll lose to Pitt.
You know,
You'll lose to Wake Forest. Y'all suck. Y'all won't even get in a true conference and come play. Y'all refuse to play the SEC. Why? What? The last time you, where's my pictures? Yeah, see them pictures. The last time y'all played the SEC team, we come to your house and took your stadium. Now y'all won't play us no more. Come on, man. What's up with that?
We won.
It don't matter. We took over your house. We don't allow that in the. We don't allow that in the South. We don't allow that. You don't come to our house and take over.
That better not be what I think it is. Oh, man.
It is.
Oh, no. It is!
I do want to say Notre Dame has a winning record against the SEC every decade in history of college football. Anyone can look that up.
But you won't play it.
Notre Dame has never had a losing record against the SEC, including this decade.
Right, so let me ask you this real quick. Why won't y'all play Auburn?
We absolutely will. Come on up to South Bend.
We tried. What was it like? 2003, 2004? Auburn tried to play y'all, and y'all denied. Oh, that's right. Y'all didn't want to see Cadillac and Ronnie.
Notre Dame will play anyone. Why did Auburn not play USC a few years back? What was that about? Hunter, talk to him.
Speaking of USC, Hunter
half of your stadium
was
was filled with Vanderbilt fans. You don't want to challenge SEC schools to come up there to South Bend because we come up there and take over your house.
We challenge all the time and we win. Like I said, we've never.
Oh, how are you?
Against the SEC.
How are you guys?
Welcome to the show, Hunter. Good luck jumping on in. Go.
Well, first of all, I don't think Notre Dame's going to have lose 5 games this year. I just don't. I mean, only win 5 games. I think that they. I think a 7 or 8 win season is kind of where I'm sitting at right now.
I got them at 6 most.
But what I will tell you is they will not beat USC. Something's going on over there at Kenny's house. No, that's Cadillac Williams. Someone mute Kenny for me. I mean, come on.
Tell Marcus Freeman he can get.
No, so
put out this macho shit and hurry
listen, man. No, I think it's gonna be a good season for Notre Dame this year. A lot of people would be surprised that I would say that, but I don't see them beating USC. And the reason I say that is the matchup is not very good. I know my buddy Tim Bailey probably disagrees with me, but luckily my other friend Kyle Golick, who works at Mike Farrell Sports, I think we both have kind of agreed on that USC is going to go into that game and have I think we said, I don't know what Kyle said, but Colin I think said by 20. The score's going to be by 20 in South Bend. And again,
you can't take him for serious though, because he thinks Duke's beat Notre Dame too, right?
No, I think here's the thing is, so I think Duke is actually going to be very good next year.
I think Duke is beating Notre Dame just because of their quarterback situation. So.
I agree, and I will tell you this: if you look at Duke's games last year, I think they played a team called Wake Forest with Sam Hartman, by the way.
Yeah.
And they did. And let me just say this is, and I actually will go on the record. I think Wake Forest last year was probably a much better team than Notre Dame was last year as well. Obviously, the results are a little bit different, but
Notre Dame quarterback last year, right?
That may be true. But here's the thing: Notre Dame has had Tommy Rees, Jimmy Clausen, I forget the other guy that cheated. What's his name? Over at Notre Dame.
Tommy
Yeah,
Reed.
yeah. But listen, it's not the quarterback play here. Your reason. I mean, you had opportunities to beat USC in that game, but if you really watch the game against USC Notre Dame last year, USC should have beaten Notre Dame by 50 points. If you saw there was missed opportunities for Caleb to go down and score. If you look how many times they had the ball and they were driving, and then they had some bad penalty or a holding call, or Caleb, again, he was a sophomore last year. He's still a kid. He makes mistakes. That game was not close. Like, it was not close. And a lot of Notre Dame fans say, "Oh, well, the game was close, and if we had a good quarterback and this and that." Listen, man, it's excuses. Now, what I will say to you is, look, Notre Dame is on the rise, but I do not think Notre Dame is a blue blood. I don't at this time. I think Kyle Golick put out a beautiful graphic from Mike Farrell Sports that said Notre Dame's blue blood status is not secure, and I really believe that. I don't think they've been I don't believe there is a blue blood status has been secure since. Since probably 19.
Mississippi State in the house.
That's what I was about to say.
I don't think their blue blood status has been secure since maybe the early 1990s. Look, guys, you could go to as many playoffs as you want. Listen, University of Delaware, where I'm from, has gone to many playoff games, right? But they never won the national championship, and nobody gives a shit how many playoff games you go to. If you don't win, it's meaningless.
Notre Dame has been a top 10 program the last 10 years.
But here's the thing, and how many? And that's a fact. But how many times have they won a major bowl game out of this? Out of all those times, 0. They are the only. They are the only blue blood school in college football that has lost in modern era, that has lost to a military academy over and over and over again.
We're the only one that plays them over and over again. And
come on, man!
There's been 10.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine if Navy went to Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama?
No, right? We got.
But listen, think about
this. If went to Alabama, that'd be the biggest upset in history.
Yeah. So let me say this: if Matt, if I said that Navy went to Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama, that's a bigger shock than now. Nowadays,
no one's saying Notre Dame's Alabama. Let's get that off the table right now. Alabama is Alabama. The only team that could even argue that right now is Georgia. There's Alabama, there's Georgia, and then there's about 10 teams. And Notre Dame is very securely in that 10-team group.
Yeah, but here's my thing. USC, yes. Here's my thing, and I hear this from Notre Dame fans for every single freaking day of the week. You lost to Tulane. Yes, we lost to Tulane in the Cotton Bowl to a Tulane
it still
team.
Counts.
And a Tulane team.
It still counts.
Wait a second.
I had to hear
they won 12.
Are you going to use the Caleb Williams excuse that you
No. Listen, no. Notre Dame
want to play Marshall.
Notre Dame fans,
right?
Notre Dame fans compare the Tulane loss to Marshall, and that's not like that is like
they're not even close.
Not even close. Tulane beat the Big 12 champion team, Kansas State, last year. Okay. USC, it wasn't like USC got blown out. Like Caleb Williams had 5 touchdown passes, over 500 yards. 100 yards,
When's USC's last bowl win? I can't remember.
The 2017 Rose Bowl, which, by the way, you haven't ever won a BCS bowl game. You haven't won a BCS. You've never won a BCS.
It's been 30 years, Hunter.
It's 30 years, man. 30 years.
Listen, Notre Dame has had to bring in a transfer quarterback that has health problems. He missed 4 games last year because of his health. And
ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much.
No, it doesn't matter. Listen, Notre Dame will never win a national championship until Elon Musk moves everything over to Mars. I'm just being honest.
Notre Dame will win a national championship before USC.
No. Well,
absolutely, and definitely before Auburn.
What?
Kenny,
What?
already won 'em.
Yeah,
Hold
Auburn's-
on.
Auburn just
Hold on. Hold on. We're live on here. Let's make a gentleman's bet on that. I bet you Auburn wins another national championship before y'all win one in 60 years, 50 years, 80 years, whatever it's been.
I'll absolutely take that for sure.
Okay, so
that's bad, man. I don't see Notre Dame winning. Listen, man, you guys have lost to Toledo, you've lost to Tulsa, you lost to South Florida, you've lost to Duke, you lost to you. But here's the thing: is
you
USC
lost to a team that lost to Toledo? You lost to a team that lost.
USC had the worst scholarship sanctions in college football history, and it was affected the team for many. So only
years ago.
Yeah, it still affects the entire university still to this day. Still to this day. So we originally got our full scholarship back in the cycle in 2021. So like we just got back. But you have to understand that whole entire sanction reset the course of USC football history. The entire team left, our scholarships left, Pete Carroll left. It was a big, big problem over there. And of course USC, but even during that, we went into South Bend and kicked your ass, even with half our team, with a guy named Matt Barkley. But look at not to take away anything from their name is.
Can we get that last comment, please?
I just think that Notre Dame is on the same level as maybe a Iowa football right now, or
Oklahoma.
No, the one before that by Tim Bailey.
Oklahoma, Michigan,
Leave it there.
Ohio State. We are right there.
On
the precipice.
No.
I beat Clemson by 30 points last year on our worst.
You guys are the Mississippi State of college football. Like you're
no. They're worse than that, bro. They're the Vanderbilt. Hush. They're the Vanderbilt.
Hey, no drive-bys.
Oh man.
Okay.
Right.
I gotta address Tim Bailey real quick. Tim Bailey, because I know that's you to post that comment. Here's what I gotta say. You put your money where your mouth is. I say Auburn wins the national championship before Notre Dame even gets close.
You heard it in your phone. You heard it in your first, ladies and gentlemen.